Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into something that might make you think, fundraising ethics.
Ooh,
But don't worry,
interesting.
we're going to be looking at this from your side as the donor.
That's a great point because, we always hear about ethics in fundraising,
Yeah.
but usually it's from the fundraiser's perspective.
Right.
So this is going to be a deep dive into what you consider ethical.
Yeah, when you get that donation request, what makes you feel good about giving versus being a little bit wary.
Totally. And what's interesting is that we're basing this entire deep dive on just one research study
Oh, wow.
from 2025, and it was published in the nonprofit and voluntary sector quarterly.
Okay, cool.
And what they did that was so cool is they interviewed 52 individual donors
Wow.
and really dug into their thoughts and feelings about fundraising campaigns.
So I'm thinking about this, like you open your mailbox and you've got, the mail,
Yeah.
you got the emails of people on the street asking, and it's like, what makes you go, yep, this feels right, or this just feels shady?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is that it goes way deeper than just like whether the organization is being honest or not.
Yeah.
There are all these kind of hidden factors
Interesting.
that come into play,
Okay.
like your own personal beliefs
Yeah.
about what nonprofits should be doing.
Right. And this is something that I've thought about too. Like, I understand that a nonprofit needs to have an office space,
Yeah.
but then sometimes you see a really fancy office and it's like,
Right.
is this really
I know what you mean.
where my money should be going?
Yeah, the researchers found that donors are often having these internal struggles
Yeah.
where they logically get it, but it just doesn't feel good.
Right.
And they have this quote that I thought was really powerful.
Okay.
One of the donors said, "An NGO is an organization for which profit is not a goal. I believe they should stay away from practices that are too commercial." That's my personal point of view.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it's like, we all know that a nonprofit needs to raise money, but when they start using tactics that feel like they came straight out of a business textbook,
Yeah.
it just feels icky.
Like a little gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, the thing is, it's not just about the tactics themselves.
Okay.
It's also about how the donor views the cause itself.
So you're telling me that even if a campaign is like super honest and transparent, the actual cause that they're fundraising for could make people think it's unethical?
It's totally true.
Wow.
Some donors have these really strong opinions about what's actually worthy of fundraising.
Interesting.
So they might just automatically think any fundraising for a certain cause is inappropriate.
So, for example, if someone thinks that the government should be providing, a particular service, any fundraising for that would be like unethical to them?
Yeah,
Regardless of how they're going about it.
Some donors felt that certain types of organizations just shouldn't be fundraising at all. Like if they thought the government should be handling it, it was just inappropriate for them to be asking for donations.
It's so interesting how people bring all their baggage to the table.
Yeah.
About what's right and wrong when it comes to giving.
Yeah, and all this baggage kind of leads us to another big thing
Okay.
that the researchers found affects how donors see fundraising,
Yeah.
which is trust.
Trust. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if I already trust an organization, I'm probably more likely to be like, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, you give them the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly.
But it gets really interesting because it goes both ways.
Okay.
Ethical fundraising builds trust.
Uh-huh.
But then if someone doesn't trust you,
Yeah.
then those same tactics
Right.
can suddenly seem unethical.
It's like a chicken and egg thing almost.
It is.
If I already distrust an organization,
Yeah.
even a totally normal fundraising tactic could totally backfire.
Yeah, it shows how important that trust is
Yeah.
and how easy it can be to break.
Wow. So we've got these like personal beliefs and, whether we think the cause is worthy in the first place, and then trust, all affecting how we judge fundraising ethics.
Exactly.
I mean, where do we go from here?
Well, this is where the research gets really fascinating.
Okay.
They found 7 key drivers of ethical fundraising perception.
Ooh, 7 drivers. Tell me more.
And these are the things that kept coming up in those 52 donor interviews
Right.
as influencing how they judge different campaigns.
Okay. I am all ears. Lay it on me. What are these 7 drivers?
All right, so the first one is authenticity.
Authenticity. I feel like I hear that word everywhere.
I know.
But what does it actually mean when we're talking about fundraising?
So basically it means, does the fundraising feel genuine
Okay.
and aligned with the nonprofit's mission?
Got it.
It's like, Donors are thinking, does this feel right? Does this approach actually fit with what this organization is all about?
Okay, so it's not just about being honest in like a factual way.
Yeah.
It's about the fundraising matching the mission.
Exactly. And think about celebrity endorsements, for example.
Oh, yeah.
They can be really good for getting the word out.
Uh-huh.
But donors in the study really didn't like it if the celebrity seemed like a weird fit.
Yeah, like I get it. You're trying to, reach a broader audience or whatever.
Right.
But you can't just slap a famous face on something and expect everyone to be on board.
Especially if the celebrity doesn't seem to care about the cause.
Yeah, if it feels forced.
Right.
People see right through that.
And then it makes donors question whether you actually care about making a difference.
That's a really good point. Okay, so authenticity is number one, like being true to yourself and your mission.
Uh-huh.
So what's the next driver?
Next is honesty.
Okay, honesty?
This one might seem pretty obvious,
Yeah.
but it's actually more complex than you might think.
Okay.
It's not just about telling the truth, it's about presenting all the information truthfully and completely.
So if they say they're going to build a well with my donation,
Yeah.
I actually want to see the well.
Exactly, and they want you to be honest about how complex the issue is.
Right, because a lot of these problems can't be solved with like a single donation.
Exactly. They don't want you to oversimplify things.
Yeah, I want to see that you're being realistic.
And all of this builds credibility and helps donors trust you.
Makes sense. Okay, so honesty check. What's next?
All right, the third one is effectiveness.
Effectiveness. Okay, lay it on me.
This is where it gets interesting.
I like interesting.
So donors are more likely to be okay with things they don't love
Okay.
if they know those things actually work.
So are you saying like the ends justify the means?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's more like they get that you have to make tough choices sometimes.
Right.
And they just want proof that their donation is going to do something, even if they aren't crazy about the way you're raising the money.
So let's say a charity uses a tactic that I personally find kind of pushy,
Yeah.
but they can show me that it's really effective at raising money for a cause I care about. I might be like, all right, whatever.
Exactly.
As long as it works.
They just want to know that their donation matters
Yeah.
and that you're making smart choices.
Okay, so it's all about effectiveness in the big picture.
Right.
Got it.
Yeah.
What's the next driver?
Number 4 is accountability.
Accountability. Okay.
This is connected to honesty and transparency.
Right.
It's about being open about what you're doing,
Yeah.
how you're using the money,
Uh-huh.
and what kind of impact you're having.
It's about having that clear line of sight.
Yes.
So donors know their money's going where it's supposed to.
Exactly. They want to see your finances,
Yeah.
your programs,
Right.
your impact reports, all of it.
They want to be in the loop.
And they expect regular updates.
Okay, so treat donors like partners,
Yes.
not like walking ATM
Yeah.
machines.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. And what's number 5?
Number 5 is efficiency.
Efficiency. Oh, here we go. The classic, are they spending my money on fancy office furniture question?
That's the one. Donors want to know you're using their money wisely
Right.
and that every dollar is having an impact.
So low administrative costs.
Yeah.
Strategic fundraising, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
Got it.
They want to see that you're being careful
Uh-huh.
with their donation.
And not wasting it on things you don't need.
Right.
Okay, so we're seeing that donors really care about transparency
Yeah,
and responsibility.
totally. And that leads us to number 6,
Okay.
which is all about control.
Control
And
freedom of choice.
Freedom of choice, that seems pretty obvious.
It does.
People should be able to choose if they donate
Right.
and when and how much.
But there's more to it than that.
Okay.
It's also about avoiding those really high pressure tactics
Ugh.
that make it hard to say no.
Look, when you get those aggressive telemarketing calls
Yeah,
and you just feel trapped.
exactly. Or you feel guilty if you don't donate.
Right.
Donors really hated that.
Yeah. No one wants to feel like they're being manipulated into giving.
Yeah.
It should feel good to donate,
Yeah,
not like an obligation.
exactly.
And it's also about giving donors choices
Mm-hmm.
about what they hear from you
Right.
and how you use their data.
Respect boundaries. Give options.
Yes.
Let the donor decide how involved they want to be.
Exactly. And finally, we reach the 7th driver.
Okay. What is it?
Respect.
Respect. Isn't that kind of built into all the other ones?
It is, but it's important enough to mention on its own
Okay.
because it covers so much.
Yeah.
It's about treating donors like valued partners,
Mm-hmm.
honoring their choices and showing them that you care what they think.
So it's not just about being polite.
Right.
It's about treating them like people.
Exactly. And disrespect comes in a lot of forms.
Okay.
like using wasteful materials in your fundraising,
Yeah.
or exploiting the people you're helping, or just treating donors like their only value is their money.
Ouch. Yeah. I hate when they make you feel like a walking wallet.
Exactly. And that kind of treatment
Yeah.
can really ruin the relationship.
So we've got these 7 drivers: authenticity, honesty, effectiveness, accountability, efficiency, freedom of choice, and respect. It's a lot to keep track of.
I know.
So do nonprofits always manage to hit all these marks?
Well, that's the big question.
Yeah.
Let's think about how those drivers apply to real fundraising tactics.
Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty.
All right.
Let's start with a classic.
Go, man.
Direct mail appeals.
Oh, yeah.
You know those envelopes stuffed with photos of sad puppies?
Uh-huh.
And pleas for money?
I know exactly what you mean.
How do those measure up?
Well, direct mail can be kind of tricky.
Okay.
Remember that quote about donors not liking things that feel too commercial?
Yeah.
That's a big risk with direct mail,
Right.
especially if it's full of freebies and gimmicks.
It's like, are you trying to save the puppies?
Uh.
Or are you just trying to get me to open my wallet with a free pen I'll never use?
Right. So it all comes back to authenticity.
Yeah.
Does this feel like it's really connected to your mission? Or is it just a sales tactic?
Okay, and what about honesty?
Yeah.
Those photos they use are often really sad, like heartbreaking images of animals in need.
Right.
Are those always accurate?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
The donors in the study really hated images that felt fake or exaggerated.
Okay, so you can be telling the truth about a problem,
Yeah.
but if you make it seem worse than it is,
Right.
people are going to feel like you're trying to trick them.
Exactly. So it's about being honest, but it's also about being genuine and not being manipulative.
Totally, and that leads us to accountability.
Okay.
Donors want to see that you're actually using the money the way you said you would,
Yeah.
and that you're being open about your finances.
So maybe include like a little pie chart in the letter
Yeah,
showing how much of my donation goes to the programs versus overhead.
that can really help build trust.
Okay, so direct mail has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
Let's move on to something I think we all dread.
Oh, I know what's coming.
Telemarketing.
Ugh. Yeah, those calls.
Right. I think freedom of choice really takes a hit there.
It's just so intrusive.
It is.
And it's so awkward to say no.
Yeah, especially when they catch you in the middle of dinner
Right?
and you're just trying to enjoy your spaghetti.
Exactly. The donors in the study definitely felt the same way.
Uh-huh.
No one wants to feel ambushed.
Yeah, it feels like they're invading your space.
Right. And telemarketing is all about emotional appeals,
It is?
which, as we've talked about, can be manipulative.
Totally.
It also makes me wonder about efficiency.
Yeah.
Is telemarketing really the best way to reach people these days?
Right.
It just seems like there are better ways.
Maybe some that are a little less annoying.
Yeah, like online fundraising is so popular now.
It is.
So many people prefer to give online.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Speaking of online fundraising, what are some of the ethical considerations there?
That's a good question.
It seems like it would avoid some of these problems.
It does have some advantages, but it's not perfect. Think about all those online ads and social media campaigns.
Yeah,
Are they always truthful
that's true.
and respectful?
I've definitely seen some clickbaity headlines and misleading pictures that make me question the organization.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So honesty and respect are still really important.
Yeah, and what about those ads that follow you around the internet?
I know.
So creepy.
Totally. And that's where freedom of choice
Yeah.
and respect for privacy
Right.
come in.
Donors want to know how you're using their data.
Exactly.
And they want to be able to opt out of that if they want to.
So be clear about how you're using data
Uh-huh.
and give donors choices.
Don't be creepy.
Right. Okay, now let's talk about something a little more personal.
Okay.
Face-to-face fundraising.
You mean like those people with clipboards who stop you on the street?
Yeah, or at events.
Uh-huh. Trying to get you to sign up for a monthly donation?
Yeah, when you're just trying to grab a coffee.
Exactly.
Yeah, that one can raise a lot of ethical flags. First of all, it can feel like they're taking away your freedom of choice.
Yeah, you're just walking down the street minding your own business.
Right.
And suddenly you're cornered.
And it can be really hard to just walk away.
It's awkward, and then they usually use emotional appeals,
Totally.
which we know can be a slippery slope.
It's a tough one. And you also have to think about the fundraisers themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Are they being treated fairly? Are they being paid a living wage?
Yeah.
Do they feel pressured to use these pushy tactics?
Right. Ethical fundraising has to be ethical for everyone.
Exactly, not just the donors.
Good point. Okay, what about peer-to-peer fundraising?
Oh, yeah.
That seems really popular.
It is.
Like those birthday fundraisers on Facebook or charity runs.
Right.
It seems like a good way to get more people involved.
It is.
Are there any ethical issues there?
There can be, for example, how much control does the organization have over what those individual fundraisers are saying and doing?
Yeah, you don't want someone going rogue and ruining your reputation.
Exactly. And you also have to think about the pressure it puts on the fundraisers,
Yeah.
especially if they have a fundraising goal to meet.
Right. You want people to be excited about supporting your cause,
Yeah.
not feeling pressured or taken advantage of.
Exactly. It's a tough balance.
Wow. So even those fundraising tactics that seem pretty harmless can actually be kind of ethically questionable?
They can if you're not careful.
It sounds like there's no easy answer.
There isn't.
It depends on the organization and the cause and the tactic.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about all these potential problems with fundraising. But what about the good stuff?
Yeah.
What can nonprofits do to actually get this right?
That's a great question.
Yeah. How can they use these 7 drivers
Uh-huh.
to create a fundraising program that's actually ethical?
Well, that's something we're going to dive into in the final part of this deep dive.
Ooh, actionable advice. I'm here for it.
I've got some great tips for you.
Don't miss the final part, folks. We'll be right back after a quick message.
Okay, we're back and ready to get into the how-tos.
All right.
How can nonprofits make sure their fundraising is actually ethical?
Yeah. So we've talked about all the things that can go wrong.
Right.
But now let's focus on solutions.
I like solutions.
Me too.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, I think the biggest thing is changing how we think about donors.
Okay.
It's got to be less about seeing them as just a source of money.
Right, less transactional.
Exactly.
More about building a relationship.
Yeah, exactly. It's about building a partnership
I like that.
where you're both working towards the same goal.
Okay, so instead of thinking about what the organization needs from the donor,
Uh-huh.
we should be thinking about what the donor needs.
Yes.
Okay, so what do donors need?
Well, information is a big one.
Okay.
They want to know how you're using their money,
Uh-huh.
what impact it's having,
Right.
and that you're being responsible with it.
So basically, don't be shady.
Right. Be upfront about what you're doing. And how their donation is helping.
Exactly. Transparency is key.
Yeah.
Make it easy for donors to find information about your finances, your programs, your impact.
Put it all out there.
Yeah, publish your annual reports online,
Okay.
share stories about the people you're helping,
Yeah.
and answer questions.
Be responsive.
Exactly.
Right.
And you know what? Even if things aren't going perfectly, it's still important to be honest with donors.
You mean like if the project is behind schedule?
Yeah,
But-
or if you're facing unexpected challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Donors appreciate it when you're upfront about those things.
Yeah, it makes you seem more trustworthy.
Exactly. It shows that you respect them.
And it shows that you're still committed to making a difference.
Right.
Even when things get tough.
Yeah. No one expects everything to be easy.
Okay, so transparency is super important.
Mm-hmm.
But what else do donors need?
Choice.
Okay.
They need to feel like they can choose how they give
Yeah.
without feeling pressured.
So no more guilt trips.
No guilt.
Or pushy sales tactics.
Exactly. Give donors options.
Mm.
Let them opt out of communications if they want
Mm-hmm.
and respect their boundaries.
Basically treat them like people.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got transparency and choice.
Mm-hmm.
What about efficiency?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Donors want to know that their money is being used wisely.
Yeah, they want to see that you're being a good steward of their donation.
Right, so keep those administrative costs low.
Uh-huh.
Be strategic with your fundraising.
Yeah.
And make sure every dollar is having the biggest impact possible.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to talk about your overhead costs.
Really?
Yeah, donors understand that nonprofits need to pay their bills.
Yeah. Right.
But they want to see that you're being responsible.
That makes sense.
It's all about demonstrating that you're making the most of their donation.
Yeah, and what about executive compensation?
Oh, that's a tricky one.
I know it's something that a lot of donors think about.
Yeah, they want to know that their money is going to the cause,
Uh-huh.
not to some CEO's giant salary.
Right.
It goes back to that idea of authenticity.
Okay.
Donors want to see that you're truly mission-driven.
Yeah, that your heart is in the right place.
Exactly.
So how can nonprofits be more transparent about that?
Well, you can be open about how you decide on salaries
Okay.
and make sure that they're fair,
Yeah.
but also in line with your values.
So don't be afraid to talk about how much your staff is worth.
Right. Donors get that you need to attract talented people.
To do good work.
Yeah. Okay, so we've covered transparency, choice, efficiency, and compensation. What about technology?
Oh, yeah. Technology is everywhere these days.
It is.
Even in fundraising.
Definitely. And it can be a great tool.
Yeah.
But there are some ethical things to consider.
Like what?
Well, data privacy is a big one.
Yeah, all those data breaches have made people nervous.
Right. Donors want to know that their information is safe.
So what can nonprofits do?
Be really clear about your data privacy policies.
Okay.
And give donors control over how their information is used.
So tell them what information you're collecting,
Yeah.
how you're using it, and who you're sharing it with.
Exactly. And don't be spammy.
Yeah, no one likes to be bombarded with emails.
Right. Make sure your communications are valuable.
And not just annoying.
Exactly.
It sounds like a lot of this just comes down to common sense.
It does.
Treat donors the way you'd want to be treated.
Right. It's about being respectful and thoughtful.
And putting the donor first.
Exactly. But it's also about more than that.
Okay.
It's about making ethical fundraising part of your organization's culture.
So it's not just about what individuals do.
Right. It's about creating an environment where everyone values ethical behavior.
Okay, so it starts at the top.
It does.
With leadership setting the tone.
Exactly. Leaders need to model ethical behavior and create a culture where people feel comfortable speaking up.
If they see something wrong.
Yeah.
So it's about making ethics part of your DNA.
Exactly. And that's what builds trust with donors.
And creates those lasting relationships.
That allow you to do amazing things.
Wow, this has been such a great conversation.
I've really enjoyed it.
We've learned so much about how donors think and what nonprofits can do to make sure their fundraising is ethical.
It's all about being authentic, honest, effective, accountable, efficient, giving donors choice, and respecting them.
It's a lot to remember.
I know.
But it's worth it.
It is.
Because ethical fundraising isn't just about avoiding bad press.
Right.
It's about doing the right thing.
Because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly. And that's how we create a world where giving can truly thrive.
I love that.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.
See you next time.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.